Hi, I'm Ava Mitchell. I'm 28, an event planner scraping by in Boise, Idaho, where the mountains hug the horizon and the community feels like one big family. I've always loved this town, the way the air smells like pine in the summer, the way neighbours wave from their porches. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened at our family dinner last month. Picture this. Plates clinking, my mum's famous beef roast filling the air with that warm, savoury scent, and me laughing about a client who wanted a neon pink theme for a wedding. It was one of those nights where everything felt normal, safe, like home. Then my dad slammed his hand on the table. The sound hit like a thunderclap, silencing the room. My fork froze mid-air, mashed potatoes still clinging to it. "Ava," he said, his voice sharp as a blade, "you've got 3 days to get your stuff out of this house." "It belongs to your sister, Natalie, now," I blinked, waiting for the punchline. But his eyes were cold, unyielding. My mum fidgeted with her napkin, staring at the table like it held the secrets of the universe. My sister, Natalie? The one who'd been chasing her acting dreams in Los Angeles for 6 years, barely calling, barely visiting. The one who hadn't stepped foot in this house since I was 22. I'd poured my heart into this place, $45,000 of my own savings to save it from foreclosure, not to mention the countless hours I spent fixing it up. New paint, new furniture, a new air conditioner to replace the one that groaned every summer. And now they were handing it to her. My stomach twisted, like someone had punched me right in the gut. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just nodded, my mind racing so fast I could barely keep up. They thought I'd pack my bags, slink away and let Natalie waltz in to claim what I'd built. They had no idea what was coming. In 72 hours, they'd walk into this house and regret every single word they'd said that night. I pushed my plate away, the roast suddenly smelling sour, and stood up. "Okay," I said, my voice quieter than I felt. I walked to my room, the hardwood floor creaking under my feet, the same floor I'd sanded and polished 2 years ago. As I closed the door, my heart pounded, not with sadness, but with something else, resolve. They'd underestimated me, and that was their first mistake. If you're as shocked as I was, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. Let's see how many of us are caught up in this mess together. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I'd painted a soft grey back in 2022. The glow of the streetlight slipped through the linen curtains I'd hung. Curtains I'd spent weeks choosing to match the vibe of this house. How could they do this? How could they give it all to Natalie? I'd given everything to keep this place standing. Every late-night gig, every extra event I planned, every dollar I'd saved for my own future, it all went into this house. For them. For us. I kept replaying my dad's words, the way his voice cut through the laughter. 3 days. I had 3 days to pack up my life and walk away from the home I'd fought for. Natalie hadn't even been here when the bank called, threatening to take it all. She hadn't been the one scrubbing floors or hauling furniture in the rain. That was me, always me. But as I lay there, something shifted. I wasn't going to let them erase me. Not like this. I grabbed my phone, my fingers steady despite the fire in my chest. I wasn't sure what I'd do yet, but I knew one thing. I wasn't leaving quietly. They thought they could push me out, but they were about to learn who I really was. Lying in bed that night, staring at the soft grey ceiling I'd painted 3 years ago, I couldn't shake my dad's words. This house belongs to Natalie now. They echoed in my head, sharp and cold, like a splinter I couldn't pull out. I'm Ava Mitchell, 28, an event planner in Boise, Idaho, and this house, this creaky, cosy, falling apart at the seams house, has been my home my whole life. It's where I planned my first backyard wedding for my dolls at age 6, where I sketched table settings on napkins as a teenager, dreaming of the events I'd one day create. But more than that, it's the place I poured my heart into, piece by piece, to keep it standing. and now they wanted to rip it away from me. Let's rewind to 2021. I was 25, just starting to make a name for myself as an event planner. I was hustling, late nights designing centerpieces for weddings, early mornings pitching to corporate clients. I'd saved up $45,000, every penny earmarked for my own place someday, maybe a little condo by the Boise River where I could start fresh. But then the bank called. My parents were drowning in debt, a $45,000 loan they couldn't pay back. The house, our house, was on the verge of foreclosure. My dad sat at the kitchen table, his head in his hands, muttering, "We're going to lose everything." My mum's eyes were red, her voice barely above a whisper. "We don't know what to do, Ava. I didn't think twice." I emptied my savings account, handed over every dollar I'd scraped together from countless gigs. The bank took it and the house was safe. My parents hugged me, tears in their eyes, promising they'd never forget it. But gratitude doesn't last long, does it? Within months it was like I'd never done it. They were back to their old ways, fawning over my sister Natalie like she was the sun and I was just there. Natalie left for Los Angeles 6 years ago, chasing her dream of being an actress. She'd call maybe twice a year, always with some big story about auditions or almost landing a role. "I'm so close to breaking through," she'd say, her voice full of that fake sparkle she'd perfected. But she never showed up. Not for birthdays, not for holidays, not even when the house was falling apart. Meanwhile, I was the one keeping the lights on. Literally. The house was a mess back then. The paint was peeling, the floors creaked so loud you'd think they were screaming, and the air conditioner gave up every summer. I couldn't stand seeing it crumble, so I took it on. I worked extra gigs, weddings, baby showers, even a dog's birthday party once, just to pay for repairs. I picked out a soft grey paint for the walls, something calming to make the house feel alive again. I bought a sturdy walnut dining table, perfect for family dinners I thought we'd all share. I installed a sleek chandelier in the living room, spending hours wiring it just right so it cast a warm glow for movie nights. I even replaced the ancient air conditioner with a new one, no more sweaty summers or hauling fans from room to room. Every choice was for them, for us. I'd come home exhausted, collapse on the couch I'd bought and feel this quiet pride. I was building something, not just a house, but a home. A place where we could all feel safe. I thought my parents saw that. I thought they valued it. But then I'd overhear my mom on the phone, bragging to her book club about Natalie's big break in LA, while I was scrubbing the counters I'd paid to replace. My dad would nod along, grinning, as Natalie spun tales of red carpets that never materialized. "She's doing so well," he'd say, while I was out back painting the porch in 90-degree heat. It stung. Every time. But I swallowed it, thinking my work would speak for itself. I mean, how could it not? I was the one who answered when the bank called 3 years ago, threatening to take the house. I was the one who stayed up late, balancing client budgets to cover the mortgage. Natalie? She didn't even pick up when I called her for help. "She's busy," my mom said, like that explained everything. So I carried it all, alone. Last spring I redid the dining room. I spent weeks picking out cream-coloured linen curtains, measuring them to frame the windows just right. I hung a painting I'd done myself, a simple abstract piece with blues and golds, something to make the room feel like mine. When it was done, my mum smiled and said, "It looks so elegant, Ava." My dad nodded, called it nice. But the next week, when Natalie called, they spent an hour gushing about her latest audition. I stood in the hallway, my hands still flecked with paint, listening to their excitement. Elegant. Nice. I'd rebuilt their home piece by piece, and it still wasn't enough. It wasn't just the money, $45,000 gone plus thousands more for repairs. It was the time. The late-night sketching table layouts for clients to afford that chandelier. The weekends I spent sanding floors instead of hanging out with friends. I'd walk into the living room, see the walnut table I'd chosen, the curtains I'd hung, and wonder why it didn't matter to them. Why I didn't matter. My parents leaned on me, depended on me, but their eyes lit up for Natalie. She was the golden child, the one who got away while I was just here, holding it all together. And now they wanted to give her the house, the one I'd fought for, the one I'd made my own. My chest tightened as I lay there, not with sadness, but with something sharper. Anger, maybe, or resolve. They thought I'd walk away, let Natalie sweep in and claim what I'd built. They were wrong. I sat up in bed, the grey walls catching the morning light through those linen curtains. I'd spent years keeping this family afloat, but that dinner changed everything. I wasn't their daughter who fixed it all anymore. I was the one they used, the one they took for granted, but I wasn't done yet. I grabbed my phone, my hand steady despite the storm inside me. I needed answers, and I knew exactly who to call. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The morning after that awful dinner, I woke up with my dad's words still ringing in my ears. 3 days, Ava. The house belongs to Natalie now. I lay in bed, the soft grey walls of my room glowing faintly in the Boise sunrise, and I felt this ache in my chest, like something heavy was sitting on it, making it hard to breathe. I'm Ava Mitchell, 28, an event planner in this tight-knit Idaho town, and I'd given everything to keep our family home standing. $45,000 of my savings, countless weekends fixing it up, all those late nights working extra gigs to buy that walnut dining table or the air conditioner that actually worked. And now they were handing it to my sister, Natalie, who hadn't lifted a finger for this place in years. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Why her? Why now? I grabbed my phone and called my best friend, Harper Quinn. Harper's a CPA, sharp as a tack, with this calm way of cutting through chaos. She picked up on the second ring, her voice steady but concerned. Ava, what's wrong? You sound off. I was pacing the kitchen now, my bare feet cold against the tiles I'd helped replace 2 summers ago. I spilled everything, the dinner, my dad's ultimatum, the way my mum wouldn't even look at me. They're giving the house to Natalie, I said, my voice cracking. After everything I've done, I paid off their $45,000 loan, Harper. I fixed this place up. And Natalie? She's been in LA, chasing auditions that go nowhere. Harper was quiet for a moment, the kind of quiet that means she's thinking hard. Something's not right, she said finally. People don't just hand over a house like that. Have you checked their finances? Any new loans, maybe? Or something tied to the house? Her words hit like a spark in the dark. Finances, I hadn't even thought of that. My parents had always been cagey about money, especially after I bailed them out 3 years ago. I'll look into it, I told her, my mind already racing. Thanks, Harper. I hung up and scrolled through my contacts, landing on Lucas Bennett. Lucas works at a local bank here in Boise. I'd met him 2 years back when I planned a charity gala for his branch. String lights, floral centerpieces, the whole deal. He's a straight shooter, good with numbers, and owed me a favour after I stayed up till 2 a.m. to make sure his event went off without a hitch. I dialed, my fingers tapping nervously on the counter. The same counter I'd paid to resurface because the old one was chipped and stained. Lucas, it's Ava, I said when he answered. I need a favour. Something big. I explained the dinner, my dad's demand and Harper's hunch about the finances. Can you check if there's anything weird tied to my name? Loans, accounts, anything? Lucas paused, then said, give me an hour. I'll dig around. His voice was serious, like he knew this wasn't just a casual ask. So I thanked him and hung up, my heart pounding. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I had a bad feeling I was about to find it. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Lucas's name lit up the screen, and when I answered, his tone was heavy. Ava, you're not gonna like this. My stomach dropped. He'd found a loan, $50,000, taken out 6 months ago with my name on it. My name, my social security number, my signature. Except I hadn't signed a damn thing. It's a loan for an investment property, Lucas said. A condo in Seattle. Your parents and Natalie are listed as co-borrowers, but you're the primary. If it defaults, you're the one the bank comes after. I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. $50,000 in my name, without my consent. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Lucas emailed me a copy of the loan agreement, and I opened it on my laptop, my hands shaking. There it was, Ava Mitchell in bold black print, with a signature that looked like mine but wasn't. The loops on the A were too tight, the M too angular. It was a forgery, sloppy but good enough to fool a bank. The loan was tied to a condo in Seattle, a shiny investment property my parents and Natalie thought would make them rich. And now they wanted me out of the Boise house, probably to sell it and pocket the profit. My stomach twisted, not just with anger but with something deeper, betrayal. They hadn't just taken my money years ago. They'd stolen my name, my future, my trust. I forwarded the email to Harper, who called back within minutes. "Ava, this is identity theft," she said, her voice firm but laced with outrage. "We can fight this, but you need more proof. Check the house. Any paperwork, bank statements, anything that ties to this loan." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me, and headed to the small office off the living room. It was a cramped space, stuffed with old files and dusty boxes. My pulse was racing as I started digging, pulling out stacks of envelopes labelled bills or taxes. Most of it was junk, utility statements, expired warranties, but then I found an unmarked folder buried under a pile of receipts. Inside were bank statements, not in my name, but one had a letter addressed to my parents. It referenced the $50,000 loan, confirming payments were already behind. And there, tucked in the back, was a copy of the loan agreement Lucas had sent. That fake signature stared back at me, mocking me. I sat on the floor, papers scattered around me, and it all clicked. 6 months ago, Natalie had come back to Boise for a week. She'd shown up with her usual flair, talking about some big project in LA that never panned out. I remembered my parents huddling with her late at night, whispering in the kitchen. I thought they were just catching up. But now I saw it, they were planning this. They'd used my name to get the loan, banking on my trust, my loyalty. They figured they could push me out, sell the house, and cash in on their Seattle condo without me ever knowing. My hands shook as I gathered the documents. Harper's words echoed in my head. Identity theft. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a crime. I wasn't the daughter who fixed everything anymore. I was the one they'd used, the one they'd lied to. But I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I stood up, my resolve hardening like steel. They thought I'd leave quietly, let Natalie take what I'd fought for. But I had proof now, and I was ready to fight back. Sitting on the floor of that cramped office, surrounded by papers that screamed betrayal, I felt something shift inside me. I'm Ava Mitchell, 28, an event planner in Boise, Idaho, and I'd just found out my parents and my sister, Natalie, had used my name to take out a $50,000 loan for some condo in Seattle. A fake signature, a secret plan to sell our family home, and a cold demand to get out in 3 days. My hands were still shaking from reading that loan agreement, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was anger, sharp, clear, and ready to move. They thought I'd pack up and disappear, let Natalie claim what I'd built. They were wrong. I grabbed a notepad and started listing everything I'd bought for this house over the years. The walnut dining table polished to a warm shine, where we'd shared countless meals. The cream-coloured linen curtains in the living room, custom-ordered to catch the morning light just right. The air conditioner that hummed quietly now, a lifesaver after the old one died and left us sweating through July. That abstract painting I'd done, blues and golds swirling on the canvas, hanging proudly above the fireplace. Every item was mine, paid for with my money, my late nights planning events, my heart. I wasn't leaving them behind for Natalie to parade around like some trophy. I opened my laptop and searched for moving companies in Boise. I needed this done fast. Today, if possible. I found a local outfit, Boise quick movers, with solid reviews and same-day service. I called, my voice steadier than I expected, even with the knot in my chest. I need to move furniture out of my house this afternoon, I told the guy on the phone. He asked for details, size of the load, address, timeline. I rattled off the list, the dining table, the curtains, the air conditioner, the painting, a few smaller pieces like the hallway lamp I'd picked out last year. Can you be here by 2 p.m? I asked. He confirmed, said a crew would show up with a truck. I hung up, feeling a flicker of control for the first time since that awful dinner. While I waited, I walked through the house, sticking neon green post-it notes on everything I'd bought. The dining table, mine. The curtains, mine. The painting, mine. Each note felt like a small act of defiance, a way of saying, you don't get to take this from me. I was in the living room, labelling the lamp, when the doorbell rang. It was Margaret Cole, our neighbour from across the street, holding a tray of homemade oatmeal cookies. Her silver hair was tucked into a neat bun, but her eyes were sharp with worry. Ava, you okay? She asked, stepping inside. I saw you pacing this morning. You looked upset. I hesitated, then let it all spill out. My dad's ultimatum, the house going to Natalie, everything except the loan for now. Margaret's face softened, but her frown deepened. You've done so much for this place, she said, setting the cookies on the counter I'd paid to resurface. I watched you out here last summer, painting the fence in that heat. I saw you hauling that dining table in with your friend, both of you laughing even though it was pouring rain. Your parents always talked up Natalie, but you're the one who kept this house together. Her words hit me hard, not because they were new, but because they were true. Someone saw me, really saw me. Margaret's support felt like a lifeline, a reminder I wasn't alone in this mess. I thanked her, my throat tight, and promised to keep her updated. She left with a warm pat on my arm, and I turned back to my laptop, emailing the loan documents to Harper Quinn, my best friend and CPA extraordinaire. My phone buzzed almost instantly, Harper's name on the screen. I got the papers, she said, her voice clipped with focus. Ava, this is textbook identity theft. We can file a lawsuit against your parents and Natalie for fraud. I'm connecting you with Claire Dawson, a lawyer I know. She's tough as nails. What do I need to do? I asked, gripping the phone. Harper told me to gather more evidence, receipts, bank statements, anything tying me to the house's upkeep. I already had the loan agreement and the bank letter from the office, but I'd check again for more. We'll file by tomorrow, Harper said. Once the movers clear your stuff, we'll lock in the case. I felt a surge of purpose, like a fire catching in dry grass. This wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about holding them accountable for what they'd done. By 1 p.m, I was back at my notepad, double-checking my list. I walked through the house again, marking each item with those green post-its. The dining table, where I'd planned client events over coffee. The curtains, softening the sunlight in a way that always calmed me. The air conditioner, a quiet hum that made this place feel like home. I added a few more items, the rug in the entryway, soft and woven, that I'd found at a local market. The lamp in the hallway, its warm glow lighting my late-night walks to the kitchen. Every piece was a fragment of my life here, my effort, my love. I wasn't letting Natalie or my parents keep them. The movers arrived at 2 p.m, a 3-man crew in navy uniforms, their truck idling in the driveway. I pointed out the labelled items, watching as they carefully unhooked the lamp, folded the curtains, and carried the dining table out the door. It was strange, seeing the house I'd built up over years come apart in hours. The living room looked hollow without the curtains, the dining room bare without the table. But it wasn't sadness I felt, it was clarity. I was taking back what was mine, piece by piece. While the movers worked, I called Harper again to confirm the lawsuit plan. We're alleging identity theft and financial fraud, she said, her voice steady. The loan documents are rock-solid evidence, and your history of paying for the house makes our case ironclad. We'll demand the loan be voided and seek damages for the stress they've caused." I asked about the house itself. What would happen to it? "If the loan defaults," Harper explained, "the bank could foreclose. Your family might lose it entirely." I paused, picturing my parents and Natalie scrambling. Part of me wanted to feel guilty, but I didn't. They'd made their choice when they forged my name. I told Harper to move forward, no hesitation. The movers finished by 4 p.m., the truck loaded with my belongings. I stood in the empty dining room, the walls echoing without the table to anchor them. Margaret poked her head in again, her eyes widening at the sight. "You're really doing this?" she said, a mix of awe and respect in her voice. I nodded, managing a small smile. "They thought I'd just walk away," I said. "They're about to learn I don't give up that easily." The movers had just pulled away, their truck rumbling down the street with everything I'd fought for, the walnut dining table, the linen curtains, my painting, the air conditioner that made this Boise house a home. I'm Ava Mitchell, 28, an event planner who thought this place was my anchor, but standing in the empty living room, the walls bare and echoing, I felt something new. Not loss, but power. I'd taken back what was mine, and I wasn't done yet. My parents and my sister Natalie thought they could erase me from this house with a forged $50,000 loan and a 3-day ultimatum. They were about to learn I wasn't that easy to break. I was in the kitchen, the loan agreement still in my bag, that fake signature burning in my mind like a brand. I'd found proof of their betrayal. My name used to buy a condo in Seattle, a scheme to sell this house and pocket the profit. I was ready to fight, with my best friend Harper and a lawyer named Claire Dawson backing me up. But before I could take the next step, the front door swung open with a bang, followed by the sharp thud of a suitcase hitting the floor. Natalie stood there, her designer sunglasses pushed up into her bleached blonde hair, her face flushed with anger. She looked around the empty living room, her eyes narrowing. "What the hell did you do, Ava?" she shouted, gesturing at the bare walls. "This is my house now." "Where's the furniture?" "The curtains?" "Everything." Her voice was sharp, like she was auditioning for some drama she'd never land in LA. I crossed my arms, meeting her glare head-on. "My house?" I said, keeping my voice steady, though my heart was pounding. "I took what's mine, Natalie. The dining table, the curtains, the air conditioner, the painting. You know, the things I paid for." I stepped closer, watching her flinch just a little. "This isn't your house. It never was. You've been gone for 6 years, chasing dreams that didn't pan out. I'm the one who kept this place standing." Natalie's jaw tightened, her hands balling into fists. "You don't get to decide that," she snapped. "Mom and Dad said this house is mine. You're supposed to be gone by now." Her voice had that same entitled tone she used on the phone, spinning tales of Hollywood glory that never happened. But I wasn't backing down. I reached into my bag, pulled out the loan agreement and held it up, the paper trembling slightly in my hand. "I know about the $50,000 loan, Natalie, the one you and Mom and Dad took out in my name. This fake signature?" I pointed to the forged scrawl. "I didn't sign this." "You did." Her face froze just for a second like a deer caught in headlights. Then she recovered, tossing her hair with a smirk. "You're making this up," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "You're just jealous because I'm back and you're out. You always play the victim, Ava." She reached for her phone, probably to call our parents and tattle, but I didn't flinch. "I have proof," I said, my voice low but firm. "Lucas Bennett at the bank sent me the agreement. Your name's on it too, but I'm the one they'll come after if it defaults. You really thought I wouldn't find out?" Natalie's smirk faded, replaced by a flicker of panic. She opened her mouth, then closed it, her fingers fumbling with her phone. "You're going to hear from Mom and Dad about this," she said, her voice rising, almost shrill. "You can't just strip the house and walk away," I laughed, sharp and cold. Walk away? I'm protecting myself, Natalie. You and our parents committed identity theft. I'm not letting you take what I built. The words felt like armor, solid and unbreakable. Before she could respond, the doorbell rang, cutting through the tension like a knife. It was Daniel Walsh, our neighbour from 2 houses down, his flannel shirt tucked neatly into his jeans. He stepped inside, his eyes flicking between me and Natalie, sizing up the situation. "Everything okay, Ava?" Daniel asked, his voice calm but steady, like he was ready to step in if needed. I nodded, keeping my gaze on Natalie. "Just having a chat with my sister," I said, my tone even. Daniel raised an eyebrow, glancing at the empty living room. "Heard the movers earlier," he said. "Ava, I've seen you pour your heart into this place, fixing the fence, hauling that table in during a storm. Whatever's going on, I'm on your side." His words hit like a quiet anchor, grounding me in the chaos. Natalie scoffed, rolling her eyes. "This doesn't concern you," she snapped at Daniel. "Stay out of it." But Daniel didn't budge. "It does when I see someone getting pushed around," he said, staring her down. Natalie's face reddened, her hands clenching. "You're pathetic, Ava," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "Always acting like the martyr, thinking you're the hero of this family. Mum and Dad know who really matters." I stepped closer, my voice low but cutting. "If I'm so pathetic, why'd you need my name to get that loan? Why'd you come crawling back to Boise when your big LA dreams fell apart?" Natalie flinched, her bravado cracking like thin ice. She opened her mouth to fire back, but her phone buzzed, our dad's name flashing on the screen. She answered, pacing as she ranted. "She took everything, Dad. The whole house is empty." Her voice echoed in the bare room, sounding smaller with every word. I stood there unmoved, the loan agreement still in my hand. Daniel leaned toward me, his voice low. "You don't deserve this, Ava," he said. "I've watched you hold this family together. Don't let her bully you." I nodded, grateful for his presence. Natalie hung up, her eyes blazing. "Dad's furious," she said, pointing at me. "You're done, Ava, you'll regret this." I held up the loan agreement one last time. "No, Natalie, you will. I'm filing a lawsuit tomorrow. Identity theft, fraud, the works. You and our parents can explain it to a judge." Her mouth opened, then closed, her confidence crumbling like sand. She grabbed her suitcase, muttering something under her breath, and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The silence settled back in, heavy but freeing. Daniel put a hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing," he said. "I'm proud of you." I managed a small smile, the weight of the moment lifting just a little. I grabbed my bag, the loan papers safe inside, and locked the front door. Natalie thought she could intimidate me, but she'd just seen who I really was. And I was only getting started. The door slammed behind Natalie, her suitcase wheels scraping the porch as she stormed out. I stood in the empty living room, the Boise sunset casting long shadows across the bare walls. I'm Ava Mitchell, 28, an event planner who thought this house was my heart's home. But it wasn't anymore. Not after my parents and my sister used my name for a $50,000 loan to buy a condo in Seattle, forging my signature and planning to sell this place out from under me. I'd taken back my belongings, the walnut dining table, the linen curtains, my painting, and now I was ready to take back my life. I drove to Harper Quinn's apartment that evening, my bag heavy with the loan documents. That fake signature stared up at me from the papers, a jagged reminder of my family's betrayal. Harper, my best friend and CPA, had her laptop open when I arrived, her fingers already flying across the keys. "We've got a strong case," she said, her voice steady with confidence. "Identity theft, financial fraud, and your history of keeping that house afloat, it's airtight." We spent hours laying it all out, the forged loan agreement, the bank letter I'd found in the office, receipts for every dollar I'd spent on the house, the table, the air conditioner, the curtains, everything. By midnight, we had a 20-page complaint accusing my parents and Natalie of fraud. I signed it, my hand steady, knowing this was the only way to reclaim what they'd tried to steal. The next morning, Harper drove us to the Boise County Courthouse, a low brick building downtown that felt both ordinary and monumental. We filed the lawsuit, the clerk's stamp hitting the papers with a thud that echoed in my chest. I stepped outside, the cold Idaho air biting my face, and felt a strange mix of relief and resolve. This wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about justice, about making them face what they'd done. Harper squeezed my arm. "The court will see through their lies," she said. "You've got this." Over the next few weeks, we built our case like a fortress. I dug up bank statements showing the $45,000 I'd paid to save the house 3 years ago. Harper got an email from Lucas Bennett, the bank guy, confirming the details of the forged loan. Even Margaret Cole, my neighbour, wrote a notarized affidavit about all the work I'd done, painting the fence, hauling furniture, keeping the house alive. My parents and Natalie were served papers within days, and I could imagine their shock, their scrambling to figure out how I'd found out. Part of me wanted to picture their faces, but I pushed it away. I was done carrying their weight. The case moved faster than I expected. By early spring, we were in court, standing in a small wood-panelled room that smelled faintly of polish. My parents sat across from me, their faces drawn, eyes fixed on the floor. Natalie slouched beside them, her usual LA swagger gone, replaced by a nervous twitch in her hands. Claire Dawson, my lawyer, stood tall, her voice clear and sharp as she laid out our case, the forged loan agreement, my years of financial contributions, the betrayal of trust. She held up the loan document, pointing to the fake signature, and I saw my mum flinch. My dad's jaw tightened, but he didn't look at me. Their lawyer, a tired-looking guy in a wrinkled suit, tried to argue I'd agreed to the loan. But the judge wasn't having it. The evidence was overwhelming. The forged signature, the bank records, my receipts, Margaret's affidavit. When the judge ruled, his voice was firm, cutting through the room like a gavel. The loan was voided, my name cleared. My parents and Natalie were ordered to pay court fees and damages for emotional distress. The house, tied to the unpaid $50,000 loan, was to be sold to settle the debt with the bank. I didn't stay to watch their faces. I walked out of the courthouse, the weight of years lifting off my shoulders. Harper followed, a rare smile breaking through her usual no-nonsense vibe. "You won, Ava," she said, her voice soft but proud. "They can't touch you now." I nodded, the victory bittersweet. The house I'd fought for would be sold, but it wasn't mine anymore. Not after what they'd done. Weeks later, I heard through the Boise grapevine, small towns talk fast, that the bank had foreclosed. The house was auctioned off, barely covering the loan. My parents and Natalie ended up in a cramped apartment on the edge of town, their savings drained, their pride in tatters. Natalie went back to LA, taking a part-time job at a coffee shop, her acting dreams fading like a bad script. My parents, who used to brag about her to anyone who'd listen, were now scraping by, juggling utility bills they could barely afford. My phone started buzzing the day after the ruling. First, my mum, her voicemail shaky and small. "Ava, how could you do this to us? We're your family." Then my dad, his voice sharp with blame. "You've ruined us. You didn't have to take it this far." I listened to each message, my chest tight but my heart steady. They'd used my name, my trust, to secure a loan they never planned to repay. They'd chosen Natalie over me again and again, and now they wanted forgiveness. I deleted the voicemails one by one and blocked their numbers. Natalie tried calling from a new number a week later, her message swinging between anger and desperation. "You think you're better than us," she said. "You'll regret this." I blocked her too. The silence that followed felt like freedom. Harper checked in with me over coffee a few days later, her eyes searching mine. "You did what you had to," she said. "They made their choices, Ava." I nodded, knowing she was right. The lawsuit hadn't just cleared my name, It had drawn a line in the sand. I'd spent years carrying my family, propping up their lives while they looked past me. But no more. They'd built their own consequences, and I was done cleaning up their mess. Standing in my new apartment, the morning light streaming through the windows, I felt lighter than I had in years. I'm Ava Mitchell, 28, an event planner in Boise, Idaho, and I'd just walked away from a family that betrayed me. My parents and my sister, Natalie, had used my name for a $50,000 loan, forged my signature, and tried to push me out of the home I'd fought to save. But I fought back, took my belongings, won a lawsuit, and cleared my name. The house was gone, sold at auction to cover their debts, but I was still standing. And for the first time, I was standing for myself. My new place is a one-bedroom near the Boise River, small but mine. I set up the walnut dining table by the window, where the sunlight catches its warm grain just right. The linen curtains I'd saved from the old house hang softly, framing the view of the water. My painting, the one with blues and golds, sits above a second-hand couch, its colours glowing in the evening light. The air conditioner hums quietly in the corner, a reminder of the life I'd reclaimed piece by piece. Every item in this apartment tells a story, not of loss, but of victory. I'd fought for what was mine, and now I was building something new. I landed a job at a local event planning firm downtown. A cosy office with brick walls where I sketched layouts for weddings, corporate galas, even the occasional quirky birthday bash. My days are filled with fabric swatches, client meetings, and the thrill of turning someone's vision into reality. Each project feels like a fresh start, a chance to create something beautiful, something that's mine. I'd spend evenings in my apartment, tweaking the layout, rearranging the furniture until it felt just right. The air conditioner's hum became my background music, a quiet victory every time it kicked on. I haven't spoken to my parents or Natalie since the lawsuit. Their numbers are blocked, their voicemails long deleted. Word travels fast in Boise, and I heard through the grapevine that they're struggling. They're crammed into a tiny apartment on the outskirts of town, scraping by on odd jobs and dwindling savings. Natalie's back in LA, pouring coffee at a shop, her acting dreams buried under the weight of reality. My parents, who used to brag about her to anyone who'd listen, now keep their heads down, their reputation bruised in a town that doesn't forgive betrayal easily. Margaret Cole, my neighbour from across the street, stopped by the firm one day with a coffee and a kind smile. "People talk," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Everyone knows what they did, Ava. Forging your name, trying to push you out. Daniel Walsh has been telling folks at the community centre how you stood up for yourself." I nodded, grateful but not surprised. Boise's tight-knit, and word spreads like wildfire. My family's choices had caught up with them, and I didn't need to dwell on their downfall. My focus was forward, on the life I was building. At the firm, I took on bigger projects, a chic cafe opening, a rustic wedding by the river. Each one stretched my skills, made me feel stronger, more sure of myself. I'd sit on my couch at night, sketching new designs, and feel this quiet pride. I'd spent years pouring my heart into a family that took me for granted, but now I was pouring that energy into myself. And it felt good. Looking back, I see the lesson clear as day. I'd let my family use me, my money, my time, my trust, because I thought that's what love meant. I thought family was about giving everything, even when it hurt. But I was wrong. Love doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It means knowing your worth and setting boundaries, even when it's hard, even when it's the people closest to you. I gave everything to keep that house standing, $45,000, countless hours, pieces of my heart, only to learn they'd forged my name to take it away. Standing up, digging for the truth, fighting in court and walking away showed me my own strength. Independence isn't just about living alone. It's about standing tall, no matter who tries to pull you down. I'm not the daughter who fixes everything anymore. I'm Ava, building a life on my own terms, one event, one curtain, one painting at a time. And to you, listening to this story, I want to say something. If you've ever felt taken for granted, if you've ever given too much to people who didn't see your worth, know this: you are enough. You don't have to carry someone else's weight to prove it. Set those boundaries. Fight for yourself. It's not easy, but it's worth it. I learned that the hard way, and now I'm living proof. So tell me, what's your story? Have you ever had to stand up to someone you loved? Drop a comment below, share where you're watching from, and let's keep this conversation going. I'm here in Boise starting over, and I'd love to hear how you're building your own path.